Welcome to Legacy Cast, where we talk about your story, your way, and what are you doing to make sure that people know about you many generations from now. Welcome to the program, Legacy Cast listeners. This is your host, James Snow, coming to you from smoltery state of Texas here in the Legacy Cast bunker. And we're having a little bit cooler day today. We have some rain showers, which we're enjoying. It's kind of rare for the state of Texas getting some showers, but we'll take it when we get it. But we're coming to you with a guest with us today, Gabe Arnold, and we're going to be discussing with him, as we do with our program, what he's doing in his life and his world that is going to make a difference in society. It's making a difference, in other people and letting the generations from now know really what he cared about and what things he was doing to make a difference and to make other people better for having come in contact with him. So welcome to the program, Gabe.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, James. I'm glad to be here. So what is it that, when you're thinking about a legacy and how you're building your legacy, what comes up to mind when you think about that? For me, a big piece of it is always about entrepreneurship. I've over the years, over the last 20 years, been an entrepreneur and started many businesses and worked with a lot of folks and done a lot of different things on that front. And in my opinion, I truly believe that the world will become a better place through entrepreneurship, because as an entrepreneur, you have the freedom to create your own solutions and solve problems. And there's less red tape. There might be maybe not no red tape, but there's less red tape, and you get to, go after and solve the things that you believe can be solved.
Sure. And, that's a good way of putting that, because, especially so many of our listeners, are entrepreneurs or small business owners, a few maybe solopreneurs, but it's what are we doing, that's putting something out there into the world that's going to, hopefully solve a problem or, help people to have better lives and, be richer for it. And so in doing this, obviously, we should, I think, spend a little bit of time considering, what kind of a mark those things that we're doing is going to have, not only on our families, but, the people around us within our inner circle of influence, but then also the community and the states that we're in, the country that we're in, the world that we're in. Do you feel that that's something that people should actively consider when they're doing both their business and their personal life? Yeah,
to me, they're very tied together. I'll tell you a story as an example. I was talking to my stepdad yesterday, and he told me about how his, I think it was his grandfather came over from Italy in the 30s and landed here, got through Ellis Island and spent like his last few dollars to take a train all the way to Cleveland. And when he got here, he had literally no money left and slept in a tree his first night in Ohio. Wow. So, and then from there, he found one of his other family members, somebody that had sponsored him, brought him over. And he started his journey of, being an entrepreneur by getting a job and, figuring out where he could work and then building businesses from there. And it's a long, very interesting story, but I'll kind of cut to the end and share, why I think this matters. When he passed away, he owned 2 city blocks in a nearby town of Wickliffe here. He had 5 bars. He had 10 different rental properties. He owned multiple companies, and his kids and brothers and sisters and great grandkids and everybody has benefited from him thinking long-term and really investing wisely. And I think that's the big difference that the entrepreneurship can make, because it does 2 things. One, you have to think long-term if you're going to be a real entrepreneur, in my opinion. You can't just try to ride the latest trend or do what's easy. You have to actually think long-term. And by doing that, you ideally do 2 things. You create, wealth and success for your family, which carries on for generations. But more importantly, if you model that type of mindset and you show how to work hard and plan ahead and solve problems, you will create those kind of people around you through family, through the team members, through your employees. And that's actually what changes the world. It's the mindset and the approach to life and building businesses and things like that I think can, this is 100 years later almost, and this guy's legacy lives on through his businesses and his family and everything that he taught everybody through what he did.
And something, especially that I see there's a lot of that kind of mindset that goes on in Europe, which is great. I don't think there's as much of that mindset here in the U.S., which is unfortunate. We live in such an instant gratification society that people are not, unfortunately, they're not thinking in those kinds of, in that type of a scope, that what they're doing today is going to have a ripple effect, 100, 200, 300 years from now. And it's something that, I personally am passionate about. And even why I started the podcast program is, just to talk to people that are thinking about those things, because it is such a huge issue and something that we need to bring back, and as being commonplace. Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, and part of it I would agree is like societal, where we're kind of instant gratification, but it's also like context of, we're a couple 100-year-old country. We're not that old. So it's like, we haven't even thought through, some of that yet. So part of it's natural and part of it is definitely a cultural thing that definitely needs to change. I totally agree.
Yeah. True enough there. So how do you correlate your version of legacy thinking into your business? How do you put that into that?
To me, a lot of that's about systems and processes, because if I can create a system that my team members can follow independent of me, then that means they can grow independent of me and they can manage that area of the business, independently. And so that's the only way to really build an empire, build a legacy, is if you build models and processes that can run independently. And that's where I spend a ton of my time. But I also actively coach and support and encourage anybody on my team to pursue entrepreneurship in their own right too. If they want to start something on the side, or if ultimately they want to go on and start their own company, I'm actually completely for that, because I think it'll make them a better employee, when they're with me. And also ultimately they may find their niche or their focus where they can be stronger than just being a team member. They can lead their own thing. And again, it comes back to kind of that mindset of like thinking long-term of, let's not solve this problem once today. Let's build a model or a process that solves it over and over. And if we operate that way, then we start to free up time and resources where we can start to look forward to bigger problems, or we can start to look at and say, what is our business going to be like in 10 years as a starting point, which is a little ways out there? And then what is it going to look like in 100 years? So
Sure. So as the way you're kind of putting that, creating those systems and processes, how would you say from a CEO standpoint that maybe some things are that maybe even concern you or keep you up at night, as the saying goes? Are there a few things that pop to mind there?
For me, that's usually like a rotating list of things, or a moving target. Because if you solve, as an example, say you solve production or quality issues, and you shore up a department and it's all stable, then you have capacity for more sales and like it can grow more. So then I go over to sales and say, are we really at the max capacity that we could be in sales? And then I'll build that up until I get to a stressor, a stress point in production, and then I'll go back to production. So I'm usually focused in on one of those two main categories. And then inside of that, I'm always thinking about, are we really investing enough in our team? Are we really investing enough in people? Because if you invest in people, everything else will work out. Everything else is kind of details, in the sense of software will change. You can get new tools. Products will change, but if you continually invest in your people, then you'll be stable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a particularly important factor that I look at, especially in what I do with business, because with the business consulting that I do on a financial level, looking at the employee is very big. Especially those key employees that are with your company that really you hope to not have anything happen to them, because it could be very very devastating for your business. If those key people are not, in their particular role, not able to fulfill their capacity, then that could be devastating to the company. So, I'm always thinking about it from that level. So I'm glad that you mentioned, the importance of, the employees and considering them. Do you believe that people? Do you believe people should build strategies for themselves on a personal life and a business life? Put planning into place.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you have no plan, you'll kind of float along and land somewhere, and you won't know why you got there. And I do think that if you're a CEO or business owner or entrepreneur, then those married together. You can't have a business growth plan that takes 80, 90 hours a week to implement for the next 6 months and not be aware of the impact that's going to have on your personal life and how you need to adjust. Neither can you constantly reinvest all your profits and not have that hurt you personally or affect you at some level. So yeah, I think it's really key to map out your strategic vision and plan for where you want to go and what you want to do. And you can start on either side really as an entrepreneur. I feel like you can start with what you want personally and then build businesses to make that work, or you can start with what your vision is for your business and then make sure that your personal life lines up with that too. Obviously, I guess thinking of what you want out of life is kind of overarching of both of those if you're an entrepreneur. But yeah, it's definitely key to plan, because you're not gonna make intentional decisions as well if you don't have some marker that you're going for.
That's true. So what do you think the most common reason is that entrepreneurs end up failing or perhaps just give up in the process?
I would say most people don't persist long enough and don't pivot as they go forward and as they grow. Because there's a friend of mine told me one time, he said, as an employee, you work and get paid, and you work and get paid, and you work and get paid, and on and on and on. As an entrepreneur, you work, and then you get paid.
Yeah. And
in some repeating cycles of that process, over time, it should get better. And, eventually, now I wake up and I've been, I got paid all night, I get something comes in, or like I get paid without sitting there making it happen. But that's 20 years down the road. And I don't think that people always come into it with a long-term mindset. And so they may have success early on and think that that's how it always goes. And then they can't replicate it because it was lucky. Or it takes longer than they think or realize to, persevere through all the things you have to learn and put together and do in order to be successful. So I think lack of persistence is the easiest way to say that's probably what people fail, most commonly from.
Yeah, and in my experience, that's been very, very true as well, because it's like you get that first year hurdle. If you can get past that, you have to get past the 3 to 5 year hurdle. And so many people they might do okay up to the first year, but they weren't really planning for the 3 to 5 year mark, and so end up maybe running out of assets or resources to be able to hit the 3 to 5 year mark, and just couldn't stick it out for that point.
Yeah. You definitely have to prepare that you're going to invest, and you have to prepare that you're going to have to work hard and not always be paid for your work a little bit at the beginning. So
That's true. 90% of entrepreneurs end up, failing in their journey because, they didn't plan enough, didn't plan correctly. And it's not for everybody. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to have the stomach for it.
Yeah. Maybe be a little bit, a wee bit crazy, as they say.
I would agree.
So what are some of the specific roadblocks that you've discovered in your experience that you would warn people to watch out for?
I'll answer it another way. I've seen that most successful entrepreneurs started out in outbound sales and outside sales, or cold calling, or door-to-door sales, or doing something where they faced a lot of rejection and they got used to that. So and I'd say that because where most people fail is they have no idea how to sell, and they try to sell and they give up and they don't go through any of that any of the process there to learn it or master that. And in my opinion, if you can't sell, you can't be in business. So, especially if you're starting out, from you, it's just you and another couple of people, or you yourself, you're kind of starting as a solopreneur and growing from there. Mm-hmm. It's really, really difficult to get around that, because even if you say, oh, I don't have to sell, I'll just hire that out, and you have a ton of money to invest, you're still not going to know the ins and outs of your customer base. And so you won't be able to make good decisions. And there's no, in my opinion, more efficient way to learn that than just to do that face-to-face or over the phone with people, or just one-to-one, human connections and human relationships.
Yeah, fair enough. That definitely is a roadblock that a lot of people have to get over, because even if it doesn't look like you're in sales, chances are you probably are, on some level. Even if it's coaching direct, whatever. I mean, you're either selling a product or service, or you're selling yourself, and so you're selling something. Yeah, and it's just a matter of coming to terms with it, own it, embrace it, and use it. What are some of
definitely a huge roadblock.
What are some of the support and resources that you've discovered that people should be looking for to help them succeed?
I always recommend that people actually just hang around the people that are doing what they want to do. So if you're getting into coaching and consulting, you should pay a coach or consultant to mentor you, or watch what they do at least. Pay for people's time so that you're serious about it, and so that the other person can actually help you. We talked earlier about kind of the differences of, Europe or the old world and the States. One thing that's I wish we did more of is more apprenticeships and more processes like that, because that actually shows you what goes on a day-to-day basis. So I highly encourage people to find somebody that can mentor them and show them the ropes and kind of guide them along the way. And, you can pay for that, or you can go work for free somewhere, or you can go work for an entry level, pay or whatever, and you can learn a ton. The people that you're around are going to have the biggest impact on how you view the world and what you do. And so the other way that I do that a lot still, because I'm, been in business for 20 years and a little bit farther down the road. But the other way that I do that on a continual basis is, read books and listen to audiobooks, listen to podcasts, and kind of pay attention to what other people have done. Because some of those podcast episodes or books have ended up leading to my next big business idea just by kind of observing what somebody else did. So that's the way that you can virtually hang out with your mentors, but you absolutely need to have people that are going to influence you and teach you and show you the right direction.
Yeah, and I love the mentor mention that you put in there, because that is something that is so valuable. As the saying goes, we're the sum of the parts of the 5 or 6 people we surround ourselves with. So if those 5 or 6 people are further down the road than where we are, and they have what we want, they've achieved what we want to achieve, then it's only natural that at some point that's going to rub off on us, and we're going to pick it up. It's almost by osmosis. It seems sometimes that you just become those that you're around, and so it's valuable to think about who are you spending your time with, and are they productive people or are they toxic people?
Yeah, absolutely.
So with your business, is that something that you've been able to inject your personal value system into with your business? A lot of people are doing that nowadays, maybe more than used to. So is that something that you've been able to put your values into what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Every 2 or 3 years, we actually just finished doing this a couple of weeks ago, but every 2 or 3 years we go through and kind of review our core values and what our mission statement is, and what we believe and what we're about. And, as the founder, I get to, influence that, greatly, obviously. And so things like being responsive, being on time, completing things on time, going the extra mile to, serve our customers and help them find solutions, and being creative about how we, find solutions and solve problems. I mean, those are all things that we find are important. And so that's a part of our kind of day-to-day operations. It's how we onboard, people and filter them out actually if they're not responsive or not somebody that would fit with our culture. But it's definitely something that we spend a lot of time, talking about, thinking about, and teaching and preaching about internally with our team, so that is ultimately how we communicate and how we treat our customers. But yeah, it's that's something that I didn't always think about early on. Like when I first started, I just purely thought about, here's the product, how am I going to sell it, and I'll just figure out how to deliver it, or what needs to happen to complete the process. I wasn't as intentional about the culture or the folks that I wanted on my team, or even the clients that we want to work with that are our client partners. And so now it's definitely something I think a lot about it, because it makes a huge impact on everything, the relationships you have, how much you enjoy what you do, working wise, profitability. I mean, it's to think through that stuff, because otherwise you just go where the money is, and that's not necessarily what you should do.
Yep. Very true. Very true. So what's something that maybe you wish you would have done earlier in life that you did not do, that you've since discovered what was important?
For me, I wish I would have spent more time on like financial management, like budgeting and, financial controls and CFO modeling and things like that. Because for me, I always had the answer. I'm like, oh, I can just sell more. Like, I don't have to worry about, if there's not enough money, I'll just go sell more work. And so sales has always been something that I've been good at for quite a long time. And I practice all the time to this day, but the old saying, like you can fill a bucket with holes in the bottom as much as you want, it's never going to hold water. And when you budget correctly, and when you have, financial models and basically CFO type controls or financial controller models inside your business, then you actually have stability and you can grow and scale infinitely. When you just wing it with throwing more money into the machine and you don't know how the machine works, then you're going to get capped at a certain level. You may figure it out a little bit, or you may have massive problems or whatever. It's just not in your control, and then you're in a really bad spot. So that's something, if I would have done years ago, I would have a lot more money and I'd have a lot more impact, and I'd have a lot, things would be a lot easier. So that's something that now that we do, it works phenomenally well. But that's something I really encourage people starting out to focus on, is figure out sales, figure out your product, get things up and running, but make sure that you're also implementing, financial controls in the beginning.
Yeah, it's certainly some good nuggets there. Certainly some really good nuggets. When you were basically transitioning into the entrepreneurship realm, obviously you had some hurdles that you had to overcome, maybe even on a personal level, personal hurdles, maybe with family or what have you. How did you overcome that?
For me, I started out as an entrepreneur when I was 16. So it's not quite like, a lot of people that maybe worked a day job and then, moved over into entrepreneurship or did something, different after that. But I more had like hurdles after I got into it. For me, I've always had the tenacity to just go try new things. I mean, I've started a couple dozen companies and been involved in, many other ones. And it's always been entertaining to me. So it is pretty common, and I've had this too personally, where people don't get what you're doing, or they don't support you, or have no clue even how to talk to you about what you're doing as an entrepreneur, because it's really foreign to them. So that's pretty common. But from a starting out standpoint, I always just went out and sold what I wanted to do, and then figured out how to do it on the back end. So, I generally speaking, always pre-sold my ideas. So it's not been as difficult as like going to raise money first, or going to build a prototype first, or doing things like that. That's not the path that I've taken.
Okay. So maybe if you can kind of talk me through that process and how that worked. Yeah.
So 4 years ago, we launched what's now a $1 million product called Copywriter today. And I realized that people would build a website, or they'd say, oh, I want to do email marketing, or they want to, do social, media, things like that. They would have these great ideas, and they'd start up or get their site up or get their mobile app launched or get email marketing software. And then within a matter of weeks or months or even, days, sometimes you would go back and they had completely stalled out because they didn't have any content to, share with their audience. They didn't have the time or interest to write another blog post or update their services page or write a case study or send a press release or whatever from a content perspective. So I thought, okay, this seems like something that I can solve. And most people charge, hundreds, up to hundreds of dollars or even thousands of dollars for written content. And I said, well, that doesn't work for most small and medium-sized businesses. So I said, if I could create a subscription where you can get, X number of articles per month to keep your blog full and your email marketing and all that handled, would that work? So instead of doing a full launch and a big, figure out how it works, all I did was build a checkout page and reached out to people on LinkedIn and called some people. And I think we had 10 customers in the first week. I then built out the back end to deliver the process. I wrote all the content myself for the first 3 months, and then I hired writers and managers and built it all out from there. So rather than hiring a bunch of people, wasting a bunch of time and money if it wouldn't have worked, I just sold it first and delivered it after I sold it. And that's the way I launch almost everything. And I've even pre-sold stuff at even more of a discount and said, hey, this is what we're launching. If you buy in now, then we'll be delivering this in 30 days or whatever it is. And then the full process will start. And if we don't deliver it, I'll just give you your money back. And that protects everybody involved, but it also validates the idea because you're actually getting paid for something that people want. An opinion of oh, that sounds like a great idea. When you start it, I'll check it out. That's not valid. The difference, right. If somebody says, oh yeah, I want to do that, I'll give you the $100 an hour or whatever the money is. If you exchange any money, it's a valid idea.
Yeah, good tips there. And it's very, very counter, I think, to how a lot of people look at business. And, they struggle because they're going through the other approach, trying to, do all develop the R&D, try to get everything done in the upfront, then to come up with a product and then discover, okay, well, there's really not a market for it.
That's how everybody does it. That's the wrong way. And it's very expensive and emotionally damaging.
Oh, absolutely. So, is there maybe another profession out there that, besides the things that you've done that you've toyed with wanting to do that you haven't done yet?
I try a lot of things that I want to try because that's the benefit of being an entrepreneur. You can have some flexibility to do that stuff. I don't know. I'm getting more and more. I'm getting into coaching and consulting, which I like. So that's something that I've been branching out to instead of just straight, business services or whatever. But other than that, I don't have a good answer for that one.
Okay. So what would you say your greatest strength is? Like a character quality that's your greatest strength?
Probably my ability to persist and keep trying things until I find something that works. I've noticed a lot over the last few years, especially, that I'll partner up with people and start working on projects, and 3-4 weeks or 3-4 months or a year or two in, they're kind of not around anymore, even if we're still trying to figure it out or make it work. And so that's kind of a pattern that I've seen where, for me, it's not hard to keep trying until I figure it out, because I know what the alternative looks like, and I don't like that. So I'm more than willing to work hard and be persistent and stick with it. And then on top of that, probably my creativity and my ability to walk into a company or talk to somebody and figure out the missing piece for them very quickly. That's something that I do a lot of, and it's effective and a lot of fun. And then operationally, that strength has grown a lot for me, because building enough systems and processes and breaking things down, you start to figure out what works, what doesn't work, and how processes flow, and how to basically make your business a manufacturing plant for yourself. So
good. And obviously there's the opposite edge to that question. What's your greatest weakness then, would you say?
I like learning new things so much that it's easy to get distracted when I'm in the middle of something. So if something pops up and it's oh, there's a new feature, or here's something new that's rolling out, or this is new technology that's coming out, I can pretty easily get distracted and learn about that stuff. It ends up paying me later down the road because I know about it then, but I have to watch that I don't rabbit trail too fast.
Yeah, as we call it, the shiny object syndrome. I
Yes.
suffer very, very heavily. I'm quite afflicted with it. The brain goes at 100 miles an hour, and you're surrounded by shiny objects that can distract you, from what your focus is. Yeah, totally get that one.
Yep, definitely.
So when you're brainstorming, is there a special place that you go to, or certain activity that you'll conduct that helps you, in that creative time period?
Creativity happens for me everywhere. So I usually just I write down all my ideas in Evernote. So they happen randomly all the time. Like they'll come to me. I could be on an interview like this and I'll write something down, or I could be out taking a walk or driving around. So
Mm-hmm.
the advantage of constantly like learning and reading and stuff like that is I have a constant flood of new ideas always coming in.
Sure.
So for me, it's not a particular activity or space or place. It just comes to me pretty frequently. But I also cultivate it a lot. So, but I usually just try to write it down, because if I don't write it down, it will escape me and I won't remember what my brilliant idea was.
Yes, good tips there. So if you're to describe what you do in your business from a very high level, we'll assume that one of our listeners here is wanting to kind of go in the direction that you've gone. How would you describe what?
So Business Marketing Engine, which is businessmarketingengine.com, is our parent company. Inside of that is how we kind of deliver a primary service or solution that we offer, and that is we help entrepreneurs and business owners at all different stages grow to the next level. So if you're at $0 to $40,000 a year, we'll figure out how to get you over that $40,000 mark, for the year, like get you up and running and get the business alive, basically. From $40,000 to $100,000, annually you have different challenges. You're starting to think about scaling, like the first baby steps to scaling, and then 100 to 500,000. You have a new set of challenges, and 500 to a million and a million above. There you have a bunch of different challenges, and so we offer consulting and courses around those things. We provide content through some of our products. We help people drive traffic through Facebook ads and Google AdWords. We do social media posting. We do website, design and development. And so functionally, we're like a full service digital marketing agency, but we really approach it with the mindset of, okay, where are you at today, and where do you ultimately want to be a year from today, and like 5 years down the road, and what are the pieces that are missing? And then we plug in and say, you got a great website, but you're not driving any traffic to it. Let's focus on traffic. Or you're getting traffic and leads, but you don't have a sales process. So you should really get into a sales course with us and do some consulting there and build a sales process that converts. So it's really customized, to where the entrepreneur, where the business owner is at. But our big, focus is always, how can we help you grow to the next level?
Okay. So what compelled you to start that kind of a business? Or was there a particular life
mainly
or something?
Yeah, mainly, my grandfather was really entrepreneurial, and like I hung out with him most of my childhood. He basically raised me. So he was an entrepreneur, so it seemed like the natural thing to do. On top of that, I wouldn't consider myself super employable, because I'm always trying to find a faster, better way to do it, make things more efficient, or grow things faster. And that doesn't always work from the top, or from the bottom up. And so I've had a few very short stints as an employee, but it's just not for me. So I like the flexibility of being able to jump in and create my own solutions. Or, if I want to take tomorrow off, then I can arrange my work schedule and projects, in that way, and do that as well, which I really enjoy the freedom of time and money.
Excellent. So kind of a little trivia question here as we're sort of winding out this episode. What is something that kind of a trivia thing about you that almost nobody knows?
I'm pretty open overall in a lot of things. One thing I don't talk a ton about, like business-wise, but I really enjoy is, I obsessively listen to music. So I like a huge range and style of music. And that's probably one of the biggest things that I use to like get motivated or relax or fall asleep or, things like that. So I'm a huge music fan and have been for years. That's probably something I don't talk about a ton, but it's definitely a big piece of me.
Yeah, I can relate with that one. Yeah, grew up with music, so it's a very big thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, obviously, we're going to have some listeners that want to reach out to you and want to be able to get a hold of you and need some contact info. So, what are the best contact methods to get in touch with you?
You can find me on Facebook. Just search Gabe Arnold, and you'll see my profile picture there. It says Serial Entrepreneur on it. But you can also go to businessmarketingengine.com and just contact us from there. You can also see what services we have and what we offer. And we are also actually rolling out a little tool that will allow people to kind of answer a few questions in a simple quiz, and then that will point them to some of the resources that we have that'll help them grow.
Okay, excellent. So, all of you people, reach out to businessmarketingengine.com or go to Gabe Arnold on Facebook and reach out to him. Set up some time, talk to him, and he'll help you get to the next level. Gabe, I appreciate your time here with us today, and as I always say, it's been a pleasure, and see you around the bend.
Awesome. Thank you so much, James. This has been a blast.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.